Life Goes On: Adjusting to a World in Revolution, created by Emily Blevins for Social Revolutions in the Middle East. This presentation explores ordinary perspectives on the uprisings in the Middle East and North Africa from the individuals who are living through them. Every activist included has been personally and directly affected by revolution. While some activists may have a presence in more than one form of social media, they are organized according to the medium in which they are the most popular. I have chosen to include two different Twitter users, one an amateur activist from Yemen, and the other a professional journalist from Bahrain. Fareeha al-Muslimi is a well-known Yemeni Twitter activist. He grew up in Yemen and studied abroad in the United States from 2006 to 2007. After he returned from the U.S., Fareeha became president of the Supporting Democracy and Civic Society Organizations Committee in Yemen. He later moved to Lebanon to attend the American University of Beirut, where he currently lives. Fareeha's diverse background allows him to tweet about both Lebanon and Yemen. What is interesting about Fareeha's blog is that he tends to treat the Yemeni revolution with more outrage and attention, but the violence he experiences in Lebanon is often tweeted as isolated events with no larger revolution to attribute them to. Amira Al-Husseini is the author of the blog Silly Bahraini Girl, but her Twitter page displays her real name and occupation. She is the regional editor at Global Voices, which is a compilation of bloggers from around the world. She also writes for various online citizen journalism websites such as Justice for Bahrain. Amira is very involved in the revolutionary movement in Bahrain and tweets dozens of times a day. However, her personal tweets about her daily life do not necessarily seem to be meant for mobilizing support for the revolution. Her Twitter account seems to be more of a personal space to reflect on the events around her. Here are some examples of her tweets. You wake up in the morning to see and hear about dead people and pretend it's okay and think, what's for breakfast? It sounds like I live on a landing strip. How I wish those helicopters won't fly so low and disturb my cats. Mahmoud Nasser Al-Yusuf is a successful Bahraini businessman who blogs about the larger Bahraini revolution with personal commentary included. According to CNN, Al-Yusuf is Bahrain's blog father. He has written about the sectarian division plaguing Bahrain, as well as daily nuisances like roads being blocked by protesters who want their voices heard. Although his daily life is clearly affected by the Arab Spring, his blog is not dominated by the founding revolution in Bahrain. Instead, his opinions are rather moderate. Mahmoud was arrested in the spring of 2011 by Bahraini authorities, but he was later released. Atiaf al-Wazir is a 31-year-old Yemeni woman who maintains a blog called Woman from Yemen. Al-Wazir was born in Yemen and raised in the United States. She received her master's degree from American University and returned to live in Yemen last fall. Atiaf uses her blog and Twitter account to promote her activism for a liberated Yemen. Her writing is unique in that she is able to weave her personal experiences into her narrative of the larger revolution without seeming irrelevant or obtuse. Atiaf's blogs are often very emotional. In her blog titled Relationship Status, It's Complicated, she writes about the difficulties in her marriage that her devotion to the revolution has caused. In her blog titled "Sacrifices of a Revolutionary", she writes about a protester in Tahrir Square named Samir who told her, "My family and everyone in my village are pro-government. They are upset about my involvement in the revolution. I tried to go see my wife and kids in the village, but the sheikh of the village promised to detain me and take me to the security forces if I ever showed up. The revolution has to succeed, or else all of this was for nothing." Atiaf is first and foremost an activist. She shares daily life events in order to build solidarity with her audience to further the cause of the revolution. In fact, in one of her blogs about ways to support the Yemeni revolution, she writes, "Circulate information about the humanitarian situation, daily life, power outages, increase in prices, and economic disaster." Because she has been able to relay her personal experiences with the revolution so effectively, she has gained much popularity in Yemen as well as around the world. Her popularity as a blogger has secured her interviews with media like Democracy Now! And speaking opportunities at conferences such as the London Conference on Cyberspace.
When you're in the square, you feel like it's a new Yemen. Youth from various coalitions, from various backgrounds, are coming together. You know, they're talking about what do we want next? What do we want from this movement, from this revolution?
Marianne Stroud-Gabani is an American-Canadian who moved to Egypt with her husband and children in 1988. She has lived in Egypt for 23 years and operates two blogs, one called Living in Egypt and another called Cairo Giza Daily Photo, in which she posts a picture every day. Ms. Gabani offers a rural perspective on life in Egypt. She is rather apathetic towards the political arena, but like every other Egyptian, she finds it hard to ignore nowadays. Her blogs are mostly about daily life and include the revolutions only to the extent that they affect daily living. Ms. Gabani's photo blog is the most illuminating because it allows readers literally to see daily life in Egypt, which is often overlooked by the media. Here are some particularly striking photographs. Street art. Ms. Gabani wrote that she loved seeing the wellsprings of graffiti that are now possible in a post-Mubarak Egypt. The upside of civil unrest. For this picture, Ms. Gabani wrote, "It's been almost a week since banks have been closed and Egypt has been in the grip of civil unrest, to say the least. Despite the images of riots on television, there are moments of calm, like this quiet Wednesday morning in Mahdi when the shopkeepers were sweeping up Road 9 and washing sidewalks and streets. We went into town to find a rumored open ATM to try to get some cash, help a friend collect the key to her new apartment, and generally check things out. The neighborhood watch groups have been incredible and have done a great job. And the upside? Finding a parking place at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday on Road 9. Business is slow. Despite protests for greater economic opportunity, the revolution has hit the tourism industry very hard. Ms. Gabani wrote that she did not see more than 6 tourists at the Great Pyramid on this day in March. While her photographs are posted more frequently and are clearer glimpses into life during the revolution, Ms. Gabani's words offer great insights into the situation in Egypt. In July, she began a blog entry with, "Living in a country during a revolution changes you, whether you like or expect it or not. One of the changes that I've seen in myself is the extent to which I am interested in social and political trends in Egypt and other parts of the world." This describes the political awakening that is occurring in many Middle Eastern and North African countries where civil society has been limited for decades. On a more somber note, Ms. Gabani posted in October, "Where has our Egypt gone? In some ways it is still the same place, and in others it has changed almost beyond recognition." These insights are the result of deep reflection, which require a person to remove herself from the excitement of Tahrir Square and return to daily life, if only for a few days. A quote on her blog homepage summarizes Ms. Gabani's position well. "Life isn't only made up of political problems. Most of us spend more time concerned with our families, friends, and neighbors than with the latest actions of whatever government we may have inflicted upon us. Our daily lives are our commonality. Regardless of the motivations for their message, these activists offer unique insights into the revolutions of the Arab Spring that tend to get overlooked in mainstream media. Whether to bolster support for the uprisings or share personal experiences with friends, the writers give a human face to a revolution of the masses. These individual stories cannot be overlooked if we are to understand the future of the Middle East and Northern Africa. In the midst of the chanting and marching, life goes on, and the way that one's life fits into the revolution makes all the difference.